Well, joining us now from our Abuja studios to react to these allegations leveled against the Nigerian Air Force is the spokesman of the Air Force itself, Air Vice Marshal Olatokunbo Adesanya. Thanks a lot for joining us on TVC News. Let's have let's begin now with your reactions on these allegations by Amnesty.
Thank you very much for the opportunity given to speak further on the allegations by Amnesty International. I believe our reaction has been well captured in the press release that was made available to the public yesterday, immediately after the allegation came out. The most important thing is that the onus lies on Amnesty International to provide credible evidence to justify its claims against the Nigerian Air Force. It's actually very much embarrassing to imagine that Amnesty International, an organization that is held in high esteem in some quarters, could go ahead to receive a report of some reported human rights abuse by the Nigerian Air Force, will then go ahead to investigate, and during the process of its investigation, never made any attempt to contact any official of the Nigerian Air Force to verify the claims or otherwise before making its allegation public. And I think even more shocking is the fact that the organization took its time to produce a contrived video ahead of the allegation, and it can only imply that the whole allegation is tailored towards embarrassing the Nigerian Air Force and by extension the government and the good people of Nigeria.
All right. In order to avert this embarrassment, AVM, you have asked for proof of this allegation. Have you received any?
Oh, certainly we have not received any, and I doubt it if any is going to ever come. And I think it's important to also mention one thing. You know, considering that Amnesty International exists to defend rights, human rights, one of those values of human rights is that principle of right to fair hearing, you know, non-discrimination, equality, justice, and the rest. And of course, that has not come to play in this case. And I think it might also help to set the record straight by stating clearly that on the set date, that's the 4th of December 2017, the Nigerian Air Force was only called in by other security agencies to come and wade into a situation that was obviously running out of hand. And by the time the Nigerian Air Force went there, of course, it went with one of its intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance aircraft. And the image that was seen on ground was shocking. And at that point, there were several human beings dressed in black attire, and which one could best describe as miscreants or hoodlums. There were setting houses on fire. And this continued. And of course, we all know that the Nigerian Air Force has a constitutional responsibility to defend the lives of Nigerians as well as their properties. And so there was no way the Nigerian Air Force could have stood by idly and watched. But of course, there's also an abiding principle that's always globally employed when it comes to international security operations, and that is the principle of the use of minimum force. So the first thing the Air Force pilot did was to fly at low level, what we call low passes. So he flew at low passes several times with the aim of dissuading the miscreants from further perpetrating their dastardly act. Well, of course, it was obvious that they were undeterred. Rather, there were even some firing of shots at Nigerian Air Force aircraft. Of course, at that point, since it was obvious that these miscreants were actually heading towards Numan, which is a much bigger settlement, and if they had actually got to Numan with what they were doing, the truth is there would have been much more loss of lives, there would have been much more destruction of properties, and I'm sure the story wouldn't have been what we are talking about today. So the Nigerian Air Force needed to, in a timely and wise manner, intervene to prevent the hoodlums from marching further. So what was done was what any reasonable person would do, and that was to fire some shots ahead of the crowd. And it wasn't until this was done that the crowd scattered and then ran towards a bridge where they hid, and that prevented what could have been a terrible situation in Newman. And the truth is, it's unfortunate that the scenario that we are witnessing today is unfolding. The Nigerian Air Force, under these circumstances, should be seen as a heroic organization, and unfortunately, Amnesty International is trying to vilify the service. You know, I also believe that when it comes to the protection and the preservation of human rights, it shouldn't just be about seeking to find fault. It should also be about commending every effort that is being made to ensure that human rights are being looked after. In the past 2.5 years or thereabout, the Nigerian Air Force has undertaken quite a number of humanitarian intervention schemes in the northeast of Nigeria and other parts of the country, resulting in the treatment of over 240,000 internally displaced persons as at November 2017, and the figure keeps rising. Several of these IDPs have had surgeries performed on them at no cost to them. Houses have been provided for IDPs. Cancer treatment has been provided. Some IDPs that never imagined that they would ever see an aircraft in their lives have had themselves being airlifted by Nigerian Air Force helicopters to perform surgery.
All right, AVM, let's
program in place.
AVM, if you can hear me, let's also let's maintain our conversation now on this issue, because for the purpose of our listeners or our viewers who may not, understand, the nitty-gritty of this interview, it's about the operation of the Air Force in Adamawa State, in a particular herdsmen farmers clash.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am.
Carry on, please.
I see this not just about operation, it's about human rights, and that's why it has to be seen in a holistic manner.
All right.
So it's not just to present one side, but if you want that we still talk more about the Newman crisis, please, let's go ahead.
Let's even still on the Fulani herdsmen, the herdsmen farmers clash now. Let's move beyond Adamawa State now to Benue and Nasarawa. What's the scope of the Air Force's operations there?
Please, I think we also need to set one record straight. The Newman crisis, to the best knowledge of the Nigerian Air Force, as at the 4th of December 2017, was not about herdsmen and farmers clash. It was simply about a group of hoodlums unleashing